This is just one example of why I never pull over at night on the reservation roads. Welcome back to another episode of Shanclen Shadow Productions. Now, this is going to be a very interesting episode because, honestly, this is one of the first times in my life, well, not really the first times, but one of the major times that I remember I was actually scared by an apparition on a reservation road late at night. So, this one right here was, I would have to say, I was about 18, 19 years old. And this is just a normal trip that I had, going back to the reservation, seeing my great grandmother and seeing my grandmother out there, going back to our homelands, spending some time out there, chopping wood, getting ready for the winter time to come. And normally, for everyone out there who knows who goes to visit the res, normally when you chop wood, you go early in the morning, you go chop it, and then you separate it, then you haul it, and then you unload it. And by the time that you're done with all maybe like 2 or 3 loads, then probably it's going to be nighttime. So I had school the next day, so I had to be able to travel back to Winslow, Arizona. And what was really interesting is on this trip, I was tired. I was beat dead tired. My body was hurting, and it was honestly a really cool like fall evening to where it wasn't too cold, but it was nice and warm, and it was just one of those really amazing chill days. And we were driving along the reservation road. I was with my uncle, I was with my brother, and we're having a good time listening to Metallica, driving alongside the road and everything on the dirt roads, and nobody was on the roads and everything. And this is the road that goes in between Pinon and Hard Rock area. So there's an old road that kind of goes over to Second Mesa. And what was really creepy about this one right here, see, I had to get some tobacco for this story because it gives me chills, is when we were driving on that road, we were going, having fun, having a good time, and I had a big old huge soda and everything. And so by the time I finished that soda, I had to use the restroom. So typically on the reservation, there's not a lot of public access for restrooms and stuff. So normally you would just kind of pull off on the dirt road and go, to take care of your business, whatever you wanted to do. So I got out of the truck. My uncle and my brother were just sitting in there jamming out music and everything. And I go to the back of the truck. And at that spot right there, that's where you kind of have like the brake lights kind of illuminating some trees that were right there. So I was took care of my business and everything, and I heard shuffling. So finished up real quick, button up my pants and everything like that. And when I was standing there, like I heard shuffling, I was just like, hello, is anyone there? And like I said, I was like 18, 19 years old, so I was a pretty seasoned warrior at this time. So first thing, I always had my knife on my side right here. So I had my knife, I unbuckled it real quick just in case there was a coyote or something like that, somebody wanted to rob us or whatever. And so sure enough, an old lady came out, and I could just barely see her face, and then she had those old masane scarves over her. And I was just like, she came out and she's like, Shí Yázhí? And I was just like, then so I was like, hey grandma, do you need any help? Do you need a ride? And she's all, Shí Yázhí? Shí Yázhí?
Shí Yázhí?
And then she started getting a deeper voice.
Shí Yázhí?
And then so Shí Yázhí means like son and everything. And so, and then she kind of started walking out closer to me, and I started getting immediately as she started getting darker in her tone, I started to freak out a little bit. That's when I got chills when she spoke. And like I said, it was kind of warm. It was like 70s. There was no breeze or anything like that. And so, but I felt the energy was off. It was really, really off. And as she started stepping forward into the light, she didn't have like a normal human body. It was just kind of her head with the thing on. And it was just shadow and darkness that was right there. And she started, it was like almost like a head just coming closer to you. And then she just kept saying,
Shí Yázhí, Shí Yázhí, Shí Yázhí.
And she kept coming closer, and I freaked out. And I hit the back of the truck. And then my brother and my uncle hopped out. And then sure enough, she was there. And then when they hopped out, it almost looks like she just went with the breeze. A real light breeze. She just Sure enough, when they got out of the truck, they heard that last Shí Yázhí kind of leaving the air and everything that was right there. So they got out and they kind of sensed the area, and they were sensing it, and there was like some weird kind of dark energy, but it was darkness of sadness, but also wanting to play with the heartstrings. And after that whole incident happened, we were kind of just standing there on the side of the road, and we were looking around, just kind of waiting to see like if anything would come out, because normally if something like that were to happen and evil or darkness makes their presence known like that, it's normally, one, it's a distraction, either to have you look that way, or because like they'll be coming up behind you or doing something else with your truck or whatever. So we all pretty much took a 3-point stance around the truck and everything, and just sat there and waited for a little bit, turned off the truck, turned off the lights and everything, and we just waited there for a little bit, and nothing happened. Energy sure enough dissipated a little bit out after that. But what was interesting was, with the situation and the energies that were there, normally we've met some old spirits that were like that. We've met some grandmother, grandfather spirits that were like that. My son is in Shays that were kind of roaming around and stuff sometimes, and we would help them out. And so what was really interesting about this one was it didn't have that loving energy that normally whenever you have grandmother or grandfather spirits around. And so we got our tobacco, and nonetheless we still made a tobacco offering, and we still prayed for whoever that face or whoever the head of that being was. Hope and pray that that person isn't tied to evil, isn't tied to darkness in that way, and then that it can move on if it's ever stuck or being used in malicious intent like that. And so, but then after that, we did that, and we get back in the truck and we start driving. We turned off the Metallica music, and we're just kind of just sitting there, and I was just like, we're trying to figure out what it was. And more so, that's not a skinwalker, as most people would kind of think that would be like a skinwalker or anything. That was more so of, I guess you can say, like, could be a phantom spirit. Could have been just a spirit of darkness and shadow, too. Because, like how I said before, and how to distinguish good and evil spirits is always use your gut. Always feel the energies that are around you. If it was a good spirit, it wouldn't have done all that creepy stuff and have that evil energy with it. So we're just thinking, like, what was the point of that? Was it just a random spirit that wanted to just freak people out on the reservation roads? Happens all the time, and it just so happens to be us. And so I think when it saw like my brother and my uncle like come out and everything, it's just, we're pretty well known for that stuff in the area. So the spirit's like, oh shit, and probably just left and stuff like that. But it was honestly very interesting, because I would always hear stories about stuff like that would happen. It was either like Yanagloshis, or there's a lot of hitchhiker spirits that are out there too, and hitchhikers, like physical hitchhikers that walk around in the middle of the night too, kind of just people going back and forth between town and their home and stuff. So normally we would give them a ride, and that's why, like, I asked, like, do you need a ride, do you need this, do you need that? And that's how quick things happen like that. In a couple seconds like that, you have to be ready to distinguish what you're dealing with, see the signs, feel the energies, look at this person, and in a couple seconds you got to know if it's time to draw the blade or put the blade away, kind of thing. So at this time, I had the blade ready at the time, but I didn't draw it because it didn't get close enough for it. But it was creepy as hell. And like how we said, like, if it's like a hitchhiker spirit, because unfortunately a lot of times a lot of people freeze whenever they try to get home. They get attacked by wild animals, or they just don't make it sometimes whenever they try to get home from the town or wherever they're going from. I know a lot of people who have passed away trying to do that, trying to get from A to B on the reservation. And that's one of those things you think about these stories and stuff, and it's just like, it's very interesting, because this is one of those spirits that was in between, not so much a phantom, but more so of a ghost, but not so much of a normal ghost, but it was a ghost of dark intent. So you try to put those three together like that, and it's very interesting, the combinations that you can get with some of these spirits that were here. And so what was its intent? I have no idea. Why did it want to do that? Did it want me to freak me out? Didn't know I was going to make a YouTube channel telling this story here in the next like 5, 6, 7 years. Who knows? Maybe it could be a fan from the future, went back in time and wanted to say hi to me. Who knows? Could be that too. But I want to know your guys' story. Have you guys, anybody on the reservation or even outside of the reservation, you guys been on a dirt road, desolate road somewhere, and you see somebody come up to you like that while you're trying to take care of business like that and just totally catch you off guard like that? It's honestly pretty amazing and interesting to hear stories like that. And what was really interesting about that too is just like, always be ready, always be, even at your most vulnerable times, you have to be ready to throw down if you have to. But I think it was also trying to play with what we were doing there at the time too. I don't know if it's been watching us the whole trip, if it just kind of knew our intent or our mind of what we did that day. Like I said, to go see my grandmother, my great grandmother too, and we go chop some wood for them, get them ready for winter and everything. And so for it to go and play on that, those heartstrings of us, loving my grandmother, loving my great grandmother like that, evil and darkness can see those things and they can play at your heartstrings to let your guard down like that. And for a split second, it did. My heart goes out to our elders, my grandmother, my grandfathers, and everything. Especially that late at night, it was very interesting because it was funny because I was talking about my brother. I was just like, dang man, I just should have just tackled it. And he's just like, what if it was a real grandmother? What if it was a real grandpa? You just going out and tackled you guys. He's like, you did the right thing of trying to wait and see them come out and do all these other different things, and then for them to show their true form like that. So with that, that's my really creepy story of the Shí Yázhí Grandma. So that right there is honestly one of those times that like you always hear like reservation stories on dirt roads in the middle of the night. And so that's one of my creepier ones that I have right there, and just seeing a grandmother come at you saying one word and it gets darker and deeper and deeper. So, but again, I can't thank you all so much for enjoying another episode of Shanclen Shadow Productions, and thank you for watching the ad right here for the sponsor of Temu. Again, thank you Temu so much for sponsoring this video, getting me some equipment that I need, for being the first sponsor. And so here's to the road to the many more sponsors out there to be able to help fund investigations, help fund some of the movies and all these other crazy adventures I have in my mind, and all the people I want to bring on to Shanclen Shadow Productions, and you, the viewer, for watching. So I hope you guys have a great morning, evening, afternoon, wherever you are. Hook on it! No. Temu says no. It's gonna be funny. Like I mentioned in the promo, I'm gonna have this necklace here, and then the spirit's gonna be like, I like that necklace. I want that necklace right here. Give me your necklace that you have. And be like, okay, here you go. Sponsored by Temu. Test 1 2 3. I can't see it. Oops. All right. Okay, should be good now.